Oh,
Good morning, sir.
come,
Good
come,
morning,
Vishita.
sir.
Morning. So, well, you have had a very impressive career, but after BA, you kind of decided to take up a job,
Yes, sir.
hmm? And then you did not do any formal education. Just you left the job and then started preparing for civil service.
Yes, sir.
So, why did you leave Ernst and Young?
So while my journey at Ernst& Young was very fruitful, I think it was a great learning experience. But on evaluating what should be my long-term career option, I felt that I was more inclined to the public sector and civil services in specific. And this made me take this decision.
Okay. So you worked as a risk analyst.
Yes, sir.
What is the job of a risk analyst?
Sir, in risk analysis, we look at the supply chains of the various clients of Ernst& Young. They come up with various processes, for example, the production process, the quality checks, the contract management, and we help them in plugging those risks. For example, who is the authority that is approving the transactions? And in plugging those risks, we enable them to garner a lot of savings.
Okay, tell me, let us say that I am in an electronics company, and maybe I am or you are the managing director of that electronics company, and it has the usual business. You can just imagine what are the usual businesses. Now tell me, what are the kind of risks which this company has, which it needs to mitigate? You first just you think of a PowerPoint presentation, the first slide, top 5 points in the first slide. These are the risks for the company.
So considering the entire supply chain management and the company management of an electronics company, I think we would start with the production risks. That is the access to the raw materials. Since we, as a country, we are dependent on imports of electronics from China mostly.
Okay.
So in light of the global supply chain.
You just first slide, you just tell me 5 points. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5.
So
first is the
raw materials that
raw
are coming.
material risk. Okay.
And import dependency.
Okay, import, I think that is a better word, import dependency. Then?
So next we will, I will take the 5 points in the PowerPoint would be the 5 points across the supply chain. So first is production. Next would be the procurement methods and for example, what kind of reverse auctioning methods are we using to decide our vendors, the vendor management. So this is the second. Third would be...
but this is not a risk. This is only a process, what is the risk in it?
Sir, I think the entire monetary
reverse
aspect...
auction is a process you follow.
So that is some kind of a check that we will see what kind of the procurement methods are over there.
Okay. Then?
Next, sir, we will see the quality standards and are they in line with the national standards? Are they in line with the international standards?
Okay.
Next, sir, we will see the sales of that particular product and what is the method of reaching the market, what kind of competitors are there. And sir, lastly, we will also evaluate the marketing strategy.
Well, I won't say all of them qualify as risks. Okay, let us see that I have a huge import dependency. How would you mitigate that risk?
Sir, any kind of concentration of our dependency on particular companies or particular countries should first be diversified. We should identify which are our other
possible suppliers for the supply chain. Okay.
Yes, sir.
Number 1. Then?
Sir, number 2, we will also see the entire life cycle of our product and we will estimate in the next 6 months to 1 year, these are our needs and how
But
can...
3 points you have to tell. Okay.
So the second would be that evaluating the life cycle, that over the next 12 months, these are our possible needs and in case of any exigencies, this is the amount of inventory we should maintain to keep a continuity. And sir, thirdly, we would also focus on trying to find indigenous suppliers, and so that would be 3.
Okay. But let me put it to you and you give me your reaction. You left out a very important risk. I mean, just one I am pointing out, there are many others. Was the foreign exchange, variation, volatility risk?
Yes, sir. That is
Because
an
you
important.
do your costing on the basis of some price, and if the foreign exchange, how is that mitigated actually?
So foreign exchange risks and in particular depreciation of the currency can really increase our costs of imports. And so this can be mitigated in the short run over the next 6 months to 12 months by managing what is our demand and what is our inventory.
There is a hedging process of foreign currency by which you normally mitigate your risk for shorter periods, 2 years, 3 years. Okay, good. Now tell me, now let us come to the principle of again risk assessment in district administration. Okay.
Okay, sir.
Now there is a scheme, Fasal Bima Yojana.
Yes, sir.
There also there is a risk which is being addressed.
Yes, sir.
So can you tell me what is the premium which is charged?
So the farmers are required to pay around 1.5% for kharif crops, 2% for rabi crops, and 5% for horticulture products. And the remaining
Okay. No, fine, fair enough. 1 point. Let's just talk a little more on this. Huh?
Yes, sir.
So first thing I would say that why would it be more for rabi crop than for kharif crop?
Sir, I'll read about it. I'm not sure.
It wouldn't be.
Okay.
Actually, it would be more for kharif crops.
Okay, sorry, sir.
Why would it be more for kharif crops?
Sir, I'm not
Okay,
sure.
You are not sure. Okay. Now tell me one more thing, that this is 1.5% is usually a percent of something.
Yes, sir.
So it's a percent of what?
Sir, it is percentage of the risk premium that is being paid.
Percent of the risk premium, but you said this is the premium. Huh?
So there is a risk
Okay.
premium, and
No, this is not a percent of risk premium. Okay, this is actually for the sum insured. It is
Okay, sir.
it is percentage of the sum
Sum
insured.
insured.
Okay, so tell me one scheme. Oh, have you heard about Global Gender Gap Index?
yes, sir.
How is it measured?
Sir, it is, from what I can recall right now, it is measured across a number of parameters like the political representation of women,
Good.
the economic position of women, for example, the labor force participation rate, and the education status of women,
Very good.
along with health, I think.
Yes, and health. That's excellent. Now, can you tell me of some scheme of Government of India which has made a very good impact on the lives of the rural women?
Sir, I think in the presence of self-help groups in India has made a significant impact on the economic empowerment as well as a spillover on the political empowerment of women. And the scheme of SHG bank linkage has helped, that has enabled this.
Okay. Can you just tell me how this scheme works?
So whenever
How the self-help groups are formed?
Yes, sir.
How they are made operational?
So self-help groups are a group of women who belong to a similar socio-economic background, and they come together, and they then use their collective bargaining power for access to credit, and this removes the biggest hurdle or biggest challenge in access to credit, which is the collateral. So their collective presence can enable them to reach out to banks.
There is
and
one process before they actually go to the bank. There is something else
so is
which
it the
the group
registration?
is encouraged to do. That
Oh.
is thrift.
Okay, sir.
Thrift. So they first they themselves save and make use of the money,
Okay.
and then they go to the next step where they
Okay.
take the loan. Huh?
Yes, sir.
Okay, very good. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Ishita,
Yes, sir.
I'm very impressed with your biodata. And there's one question which is rolling in my mind all the time. You have done so well in your academics. You have studied in the Sri Ram College of Commerce. What made you decide not to do MA post-graduation?
So while I was working at Ernst and Young, I was evaluating what are my possible long-term options.
But that decision is after joining Ernst & Young or before joining Ernst & Young?
Sir, given that it was a period of 2 years, my thoughts were evolving over that time period. What should be my long-term plan? And in the short run, I definitely wanted to explore that opportunity and learn all the great things we have heard about the private sector. So over those 2 years, I evaluated a number of options, and as you pointed out rightly, sir, masters was a very dominant option in my mind. But sir, I felt that given a career decision at this point of time, I think I can try for the civil services examination. And there is no age bar to pursuing a master's degree. So I do look forward to it in the future.
Okay, that's a good one. You are a master's in economy.
So I'm a bachelor.
No, but you are a master's in economy. I've seen that. Matlab. Now, if I ask you, I mean, everyone, and rightly so, talks very, positively about India's economy. And if I ask you one or two major concern points about India's economy, what would they be? And and also analyze it in the context of the budget.
Sir, I think one of the most important concern for India right now is to reap its demographic dividend. Our window of 50 years is ongoing, and this we will be unable to achieve.
More of a social factor than an economic factor. I was expecting a more economic factor. You're getting my mind?
Yes, sir. So I was coming to the point that it is important to skill our labor force.
That's again, I mean, not from an economist,
Okay, from an economic point of view.
from the economic viewpoint. I hope you got my point.
Yes,
You are
sir.
right there. I'm not saying that
Yes,
you are
sir.
not right there, but I want an economist analysis, and that is why I said also in the context of the recent budget, so that
Okay.
I was
Yes, sir.
ring fencing the time factor.
So I think the recent budget addresses one of the most important concerns, which is also capital expenditure.
It has already addressed it. That's a capital expenditure.
Yes, sir. It has increased it to 10 lakh crores in this budget. And this can create a
What
virtuous...
is the other concern factor? I still feel that you are missing out the most important concern factor.
So I'll just take a moment to think.
What are the 2-3 major things which are pegged at the beginning of making a budget? And then you go on to the micro. You've done macro, you've done micro.
Yes,
And
sir.
then you move on to the micro side. What are the 2-3 things which are pegged,
So what comes to
which
my
will
mind?
make how much fund is available with you? I'm also giving you now a very big hint.
So one major determinant is also fiscal deficit.
Exactly. Now you took some time. Now you have come to it. Now tell me what is your assessment of the assumptions which have been made? Tell me what are the assumptions which have been made in the budget with regard to the fiscal deficit, and tell me how realistic is it?
Sir,
I'm asking you because you are totally an economics
Yes, sir.
person.
So I apologize for the delay.
No, absolutely.
Sir,
And I'll bring you to capital expenditure.
yes, sir. Sir, our fiscal deficit targets have been revised as per the Fiscal Responsibility and Budgetary Management
What is
Act.
the assessment for this year?
So presently it is around 6.2% of GDP.
What is the assessment for this year? 6.4.
Okay, sir.
What is the projection for next year?
So I think by 2025,
Next year. I'm
next
talking
year.
about in the budget for the next year.
So I think it is expected to reduce by to around 5.7 or 5.8%. 5.9%.
What is the target, medium-term target they indicated, 2025, 26? Because, you know, fiscal deficit is a very important thing.
Yes, sir.
You will agree as an economist.
Yes, sir.
And that is why I'm concentrating on that. What is the target they have indicated for 25, 26?
So I think it is around 4.8%.
4.7.
Yes, sir.
Achievable, these three figures? 6.4, 5.9, 4.7. Now tell me as an economist,
Sir,
what is the tax to GDP ratio of India? That will give you a hint to the answer.
so it is around 17%.
10 or 17?
So 11%, but if we include the state level
No,
tax,
I'm talking about the center.
So
Because
11%.
otherwise, you know, fiscal deficit also
Yes, sir.
takes a different tangent.
So 11%.
Tax, has it remained consistent?
So it has been increasing over the past year.
Significantly?
Yes, sir. The GS.
Significantly. Tax to GDP ratio.
So pleasantly increasing.
Significantly.
So I don't
It
think
makes
so.
a difference, you know, increase and a significant increase.
So it has
You know,
been
we
increasing.
could talk about, you know, we talk about GST tax collections, all that. But
Yes, sir.
ultimately, what will determine is your tax to GDP ratio.
Yes, sir.
What is it? Now, tax to GDP ratio, do you think the fiscal deficit, I'm sorry, I'm not, because you are an economist, so
Yes,
that's why
sir,
I'm
I understand.
concentrating on this.
So I think if we continue as an economist, I would also work on certain assumptions. And if the assumption is fiscal discipline over the next 2 years, and if it is managing our revenue expenditures the way we are doing in the current budget also.
And not capital expenditure.
So increasing our capital
Because
expenditure.
it's now leading to my final question.
Yes, sir. So increasing the share of capital expenditure and thereby managing the revenue expenditure. If we maintain and go on these lines, I think this is an achievable target.
As an economist, that which you are, should India have made such a high outlay for capital expenditure? That was my final question.
Yes, sir.
Keeping in view the fiscal deficit figures and all that.
Yes, sir. I completely agree with the government stance of increasing.
Good. But now my final question again, is the fiscal deficit assumptions 6.4, 5.9, 4.7, which itself is a very high figure.
Yes, sir.
FRBM is 3.
Yes, sir.
Feasible?
Yes, sir. I think it is feasible.
Now we move on to a different area. What is the most significant, why is today a very significant day?
So it is 1 year anniversary of the Russia-Ukraine war.
Now, how do you analyze India's position on the Ukrainian crisis? And should there be a change?
Sir, I think India has maintained strategic autonomy in this situation.
Nuanced neutrality.
Yes, sir. I think that sums it up better.
Hmm.
Sir, I think India has maintained its own, kept its own national interest also in sight while taking decisions. And it has also gone on to condemn all the violence that is going on. At the Samarkand summit also we had heard words that this is not the era for war. So India has called for a cessation of all violence. It has called for a return to the table of dialogue and deliberations. And while also maintaining its own national economic interests, it has, I think...
Now I've got you.
Yes.
2 short questions. A, is it in India's interest to have a weakened Russia? B, has India have done sufficient to broker peace?
So on the first question, I think I would refer to Kautilya's Mandal Siddhant, and talk about how India and Russia are natural allies, and a strong Russia would be in the interest of India, especially given that India's vision is that of a multipolar world order. So having another strong pole in Asia and in the world would be to its benefit. A weakened Russia is not in the interest of India. So on the second question, if India has done enough to broker peace, sir, I think India can do more. India is trying, but there is definitely scope to do a lot more. And given that India has amicable ties with both the countries in question, it must go forward and increase the dialogue and deliberation and help in calculated.
Okay, I've got
Sorry.
it. My final question.
Yes, sir.
Which elephant has now walked into the room? And which is a bit dangerous for India.
So it is China's visit to Russia. Wang Yi, the...
Good.
Yes, sir.
What are the implications? Now you're getting the entire circle of questions.
Yes, sir.
Hmm?
Sir, it will have severe implications for India, given that India shares a border directly with China and is directly impacted by Chinese attempts. And as we often read, it is being called China's charm offensive also. That the fact that it is greatly invested in Europe economically and is now aligning with Russia's interests also, can be a deterrent in India's larger foreign policy.
Okay. Thank you, Ishita.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Ishita,
Yes, sir.
you studied in Air Force School.
Yes, sir.
What's your take on the entry of women in army in combat roles?
Sir, I think I am in complete support of it. And it is something that we have been waiting for years also. And after the Babita Punia case, women were given permanent commission and are now also participating in combat roles. So I think this can be beneficial.
Very good. Now you tell me the challenges in the way of giving a full-fledged combat responsibility to women.
So the first challenge that comes to my mind, and it is after interacting with a number of army officers. Fortunately, a number of my batchmates are presently serving in the army. And one pertinent problem that I heard from their end was that women and men are not given the same training standards. And women have to comply with lower training standards. So that can be an issue in combat roles. Secondly, sir, a social or behavioral issue, which I think can be overcome in the long run, is that they felt that the Jawans or the other ranks officers would not easily accommodate with a woman leader in position, especially in combat roles. But I think this can be done away with in the short run.
Think what can happen on the front.
So-
Here you are only thinking what can happen at the headquarters. Think
Yes.
what can happen on the front. What will be the challenges there?
So challenges were pointed out like women, the presence of women and their biological clock and their maternity needs can lead to certain. So sorry, I'm again coming back to our side. Sir, on the front there can be deaths and.
Deaths are fine.
Okay.
What if women are taken as prisoners of war?
Yes, sir. Yes, so that is a valid concern, and I think moving ahead with the times, if women are in the combat role, this is something we should be prepared for.
Okay, will not drag it further. So, what is the fabric of your sari?
Sir, it is worldly art.
Fabric.
Fabric, sir, I think it is khadi silk.
Khadi silk. What are the different types of silk?
So I'll just take a moment. I can think about the prints. So I think there is Banarsi silk and there is Gadwali silk of Andhra Pradesh. So
Assam. Which
Assam.
silk is there in Assam?
Gadwali silk of Andhra Pradesh. Do you know where is Gadwal?
sorry, sir.
And in the meanwhile also
Which
answer
is the
this
silk of
question.
Assam, because I belong to Assam.
So I don't know.
Muga silk.
Muga.
Muga silk. Okay. Oh, sorry, sir.
No problem.
So, you talked about Varli.
Yes, sir.
Tell us something about Varli art.
So Varli art is of Maharashtra, and it also has been recently given the GI tag. And the type of art is one that has stick figures and is simplistic in nature.
Okay, you are also into Madhubani painting.
Yes, sir.
How does Madhubani painting differs from a Manjusha painting? They both have their origin in Bihar.
Yes, sir. So Madhubani, on thematic lines, Madhubani paintings have either themes of nature or mythological themes predominantly. And so from what I can recall, Manjusha paintings have themes of snake and snake charmers.
Okay. Anything beyond that?
So the intricacy of Madhubani painting, it has a lot of geometrical patterns, and the canvas or the cloth is completely filled with designs, whereas the same is not observed in Manjusha paintings.
Okay, name few of the famous practitioners of Madhubani painting.
Yes, sir. Sir, it started with the dominance of Madhubani painting and its presence at a national level or even at international scale started with the national award given to Sita Devi, who is one of the prominent figures. So there is also Beena Devi, who is now leading the front in cooperatives like Jivika. And so recently, crossing all caste barriers, we saw the works of Shanti Devi, who comes from a lower caste background but has done exemplary work in Madhubani painting.
Okay. For how long did you stay in Sikandrabad? You were born there?
So I think just about a few months. My father was in the Indian Air Force.
Okay, no problem. You would not know much about it then. Okay, you studied in Shriram College of Commerce.
Yes, sir.
There is a mythological figure also by the name of Shriram.
Yes, sir.
You know something about him?
Yes, sir. I have read Ramayana as a young kid.
Acha, you have read Ramayana. Interesting. So, what traits from the character of Shriram are essential for a good administrator?
Sir, I think first would be the trait of integrity and leaving behind everything. He headed out for a 13-year vanvas, and this shows his character, the strength of his character and his will to do what he felt was right. So I think this is the first thing. Sir, second would be his grit and his stamina to go on for so long, and similarly an administrator also has to go on achieving their targets across decades. So these are the two things.
Okay. Thank you, Ishita. That
Thank
will
you,
be
sir.
all. Sir.
Ishita,
Good morning, sir.
good morning. Good. So Indian Administrative Service is your first choice. You want to be an Indian Administrative Service officer.
Yes, sir.
Very good. I hope you become a good one.
I hope so.
So what ails India's bureaucracy?
Sir, I think the first would be in an era that is becoming fast specialized. We see issues of climate, we see issues of economy. This is a generalized service and brings a general perspective. And this is why we are also seeing a move towards lateral entry and bringing in of specialists in ministries. Sir, secondly, I think there have been a number of cases that have changed public perception about it. There is a perception of corruption in the bureaucracy, and this is something that needs to be plugged.
What else? Perception of corruption then? That's it.
Sir, so apart from the specialized training,
Only two things. Everything else is perfect.
no, sir, it's not perfect. I can think of these two things.
You can think of these two right now. All right. Okay, you were earlier speaking about Ukraine and Russia.
Yes, sir.
So US and China also seem to be at loggerheads once again because of the shooting down of the balloon and all the rhetoric that has followed.
Yes, sir.
What are the implications for the world and what are the implications for India?
So I think if the two largest economies in the world are at loggerheads, it can have great economic consequences for the world.
Okay.
Because even in the past, we have seen the trade war between US and China and how that can slow down.
Point
the world.
taken. Next.
So next, it also creates tendencies again towards the two superpowers now, moving towards a bipolar world order, which will not be in India's interests.
Okay.
If there is raising of contentions from both sides, the India's vision of a multipolar world order would be diminished.
Fine. Next.
Sir, it also creates security threat at the global sphere. US focus on Indo-Pacific can be strengthened in this regard if it is at loggerheads with China, and this can benefit India, I think.
Okay. Next.
Sir, I think given that India is getting closer to US in the past few decades and the recent signing of the ICET also, if China is antagonistic towards US, this can create security implications for India because we are at the border.
Fine. I started by saying Russia, Ukraine.
Yes, sir.
You didn't get the hint. You spoke about Wang Yi's visit.
Yes, sir.
Implications for the world. Now
Yes,
tell
sir.
me.
So, recent visit by Wang Yi to Russia can have implications of creating again a East versus West divide in the world.
China and Russia will become closer, that's all. If US keeps troubling
Yes,
China, isn't it?
Yes, sir.
Okay, anyways. All right. Let's move forward now. What can you tell me about Ujala and Ujjwala Yojana?
Sir, Ujala Yojana is for LED light and Ujjwala Yojana is for LPG, free LPG cylinders.
How many households have been covered so far? Well, how would you look at this scheme? Success, unsuccessful, work in progress? What is it?
Sir, Ujjwala I think has been a success.
Success, okay.
Yes, sir.
Why would you say it's a success? How will you back this?
So I think that the vast spread of LPG cylinders has enabled improving.
Vast is what?
So I don't know the numbers.
So then percentage, something you have to give me, isn't it, when you say vast?
So I'll read about it.
Okay. What are some of the challenges?
Of Ujjwala.
Ujjwala.
Sir, I think the first challenge of Ujjwala scheme would be the behavioral aspect, that even though cylinders are being given, is this a sustainable measure, because are people reverting back to the indoor cooking methods?
They are reverting back to the indoor cooking methods. Why?
So I think from what I have read, it is a behavioral perception that it is...
Are you sure it's behavioral? I'm saying it's not behavioral.
Okay. So I think then that has to be with the refilling of the cylinders.
Very good. What is it about refilling?
Sir, I think over a year across 5 to 6 cylinders are required, but the scheme provides only 2. So there is a demand supply mismatch.
Are you sure it's demand supply?
So I think so.
Because when you ask for a gas cylinder, I think in Greater Noida, though it's piped gas, so it's different. But elsewhere, there is no shortage. You get a gas cylinder immediately. Once upon a time, you had to wait for 3 weeks to get your refill of cylinder.
Yes, sir.
Now you're getting it within 3 hours.
Yes, sir.
So is it demand and supply?
So I'll read about it.
Okay, no problem. Anyways, 3 women-centric schemes that have changed the lives of women in our country. And you can't use schemes that you already named.
Okay. Sir, first is the Beti Bachao Beti Padhao
Okay,
Yojana.
next. Andolan.
Sorry,
What was
Yojana.
that? Okay, next.
Sir, Sukanya Samriddhi scheme.
Okay, very good. Next.
Sir, Mahila Saving Certificate. There is a higher rate of interest of around 7.5%.
As an economist, you are saying that.
No, sir, relatively higher. 7.5% is wrong.
Yeah, you provoked me.
Sorry, sir.
Think of something better.
So cooperatives I can think of, but I've already talked
Okay,
about
never mind. All right,
Har
fine.
Ghar Jal. Har Ghar
हाँ,
Jal.
Jal Jeevan Mission, sir.
Jal Jeevan Mission, Swachh Bharat, all these are women-centric.
We'll come back to it in feedback. Anyways, social sector schemes that you would like to improve. 2 of them.
So I'll take a moment.
Sure.
So first would be Sir, next, I think that I would like to improve.
No problem if you can't recall. Okay, my final question to you.
Yes, sir.
2047,
Yes, sir.
India at 100.
Yes, sir.
What is Ishita's vision for India?
So my vision for an India at 2047 includes a more equitable society,
Okay.
especially for women. I would,
Fine, that explains it. Okay, anything else?
sir, I hope that we are reaping our demographic dividend and
Okay.
have a high rate of growth and an economic power by then.
Okay.
So third, I think from the defense angle, I hope that our indigenous defense sector has taken off by then and India becomes a dominant supplier beyond the buyer role that it has played. And lastly, sir, I hope that 2047 also resonates with the ideas that we are no more in the era of war and dialogue and deliberation will be the way forward and peace will be the way forward.
Thank you, Ishita.